Alright gang, I sort of kind of started without you. Got the little DB20 Tau motor, 107cc, considered a 110. Pit bike out here. Pulled the gas tank and top fairing and seat off so I can gain access to some things. What I have already done off camera, sorry, is I pulled this cover. This is stator cover. Okay, see the wire, so that generates your field, so that gives you power to your coil and keeps the battery topped off, since it's electric start only. And I remounted the starter, but I had to pull that off in order to get the chain, which is about a third the size of standard bicycle chain, around the gear of the starter. Because what had happened was these two screws right here, and I keep a lot of JIS screws handy, plus over there are a bunch more, and I'm going to need a few more just to button up some other things. For example, the top motor mount right now, I've just got two spuds going through either side to hold the motor where it needs to be. And I've got it stabilized with the belly lift as well as the kickstand. Pulled the skid plate off, pulled the ignition out. Don't have a key, don't expect to get a key, so I dissected the key and discovered, you see the paint marks, those two are on, these two are off. So I'm just going to rewire it with a double pole single throw switch. I'll show you that right now, and it'll essentially work like a key switch. Okay, there they are. Does that one have? Yeah. Okay, I'll get the baggie opened and show it to you here. Let me get you clamped down. That worked out good. Uh-oh, where's my knife? I found my knife. English language is weird, isn't it? Sorry about the humming in the background. I'm topping off an Agm battery to throw in this thing. But a double pole single throw switch looks just like that. Okay, where in the on position you can use two terminals, and in the off position you can use two terminals. So I'll use my meter to determine which two are which, and wire this to what was the ignition switch accordingly, and then I will mount this where the ignition switch was, and I'll have to make or find a couple of large washers that will allow me to mount this switch just right there. Just simple on and off switch. It bypass the key altogether, and it will work just like the switch does. So I've got that to take care of. But as I said, and it was funny, I only came out to look up what the model was, the DB20, so I could look it up online and just familiarize myself with it. I was already in my comfy clothes. It was late at night. I came out, looked at it, and I was like, examining this cover, I thought, you know what? Yep, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pop that off real quick just to look and see. That was all I was going to do. One thing led to another. Cover came off. There's a drum in there with magnets on it, and then the stator itself is affixed to this housing here. And this is just essentially a chain guard, and the chain goes around the starter and then around back behind the drum, and it's a one-way. So it'll pull to start, but then once the engine starts, it'll just freewheel. The big gear will just sit there and freewheel. So that's what's going on back there. What we have to do now is, as I said, wire the switch in, get the switch so that we can mount it, This was hacked up. It had a piece of household electrical wire. I think I probably already threw it away. But this is one of the Agm batteries, what I call the Google batteries, because that's where they came from initially, was for a test at a battery test facility that my buddy Jeff works at. But we're going to tap into that with a light gauge. This one's actually just a little bit heavier gauge, to go to the starter solenoid here. The wiring from the starter solenoid is fine, and we've got our negative over here, so we should be okay in that regard. As far as the end connectors, I'm not going to alter the end connectors, but I'll get them affixed to the spades on the battery, so don't worry about that. This battery obviously has seen better days, and since I've already got these on hand, and this battery will sit down in there far enough for me to, I can go ahead and put the seat and everything back on, and the seat will hold that thing in place, keep it from going anywhere. But I'll do a little fancy work there to get that to where we can use this battery without altering those. Then after that, I will need to go over into my part stash over on this rack and find a bolt long enough, JIS bolt, Japanese Industrial Standard, to go through. These are JIS screws. You can see I've got my Impacta driver out, my vessel. Best thing since sliced bread right there. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and take care of the plug wire. So like I say, these two wires, the black with white and the green, will go to one pole on that switch, and then the solid black and red will go on the other pole of that switch, so that when one is engaged, the other is disconnected, which is exactly how this was, via a tiny little plate right there, which was affixed to the base of the key switch. So yeah, I just gutted the key switch because there was no chance of getting the key back. And I don't care if it's just a toggle switch. This thing's just for fun anyway. I didn't pay hardly anything for it. I just want to see if this thing's gonna run. So I've babbled for almost 8 minutes about what I've already done. I also need to readjust the tensioners on the chain because it is way too tight. Needs to be a little bit more loosey-goosey there. And looks like the chain guard is a little bit off center too. Need to get that in a little better position. And oil the chain. I've already got air in the tires, and it appears as though, yes, they are holding. I do have one broken lever, the front brake lever here, but it's no problem, still works just fine. But I'm anxious to see if this thing's going to run. I'm doing all this work and have yet to even crank it over to see if it'll run. So as soon as we get this wired up, we'll temporarily throw the battery on and see if we can get this thing to pop and make some noise. Then we'll get back into tidying up the rest of the things that we need to do. So hang on for that. You can always tell when someone's been busy when there's all kinds of stuff all over everywhere, and I've been busy. So we got the heat shield back on, got one tab on the other side that broke off, no big deal. Got one securing bolt here, two securing bolts that run in line with the footrests to get the back of it on. I straightened the skid plate out. I could probably bend it up a little bit more, but I think it'd be all right there. I checked it for spark. I was missing one heat shield, so I just threw a 10mm bolt in there, secure that up top. We've got to get a bolt here, but I'm in a position where I'm ready to see if this thing's gonna start. So let me put you guys over here. Let me close this vise up so I can clamp it in there like Jed clamp it. We're gonna see if it'll come to life. It either will or it won't. Oh, my neighbor, he knows I collect old tools and old ratchet wrenches and stuff like that. Check this one out. You see that? It's a Boney, made in USA. Nice old one. It's a A707 with a patent pending. And the number of teeth that thing has is just incredible. Even way back when that was made. Not exactly sure when, but I'll take that code and date it. But isn't that pretty? It's a 1/2 inch. Love my old tools. Alright, let's see if this thing will start. Gotta put a jump pack on it. Got the jump pack. And the battery's just in temporarily. So I have another one charging that'll go in it more permanently. There we go. Good. Place for this. Make sure we're up high enough. We'll crank it up just a little bit more. I don't want it. It's a centrifugal clutch. I don't want it to take off on me. Alright. Suppose we can put a little fuel in here. I got fuel going into the fuel filter. Come on. Get in there. Yep, we got fuel. Okay. Are we ready? Choke. Got the switch wired on. Be awesome if it just fires right up. Best $75. Let's see. Probably ran it out of gas. How about that? Woohoo! All right. I'll take that. We say we get all the plastics on this thing. Get it down on the ground. Find a bolt for that. And take it for a zip around the yard. Sound like fun? Don't worry, I'll be careful. I know, my back's all screwed up. Cool. We even sat there and idled. I like it. Alright, we'll see you guys outside. I was just getting ready to take it off. And I remembered I have to loosen that chain up. But I wanted to go ahead and turn the camera on because this is important. This right here is a chain alignment tool used for motorcycles to make sure that your sprocket in the front is even with the sprocket in the back. You can see it's tilted this way. So I've got the axle loosened up, and I'm going to back off these stays, let this side of the wheel come in. I still need to loosen this side because the chain's tight, but I'll show you what it's supposed to look like when I get the chain slack set, chain tension set, and get it aligned. So hang on. Then, once you've got your chain aligned and you got everything locked down, you want to double check it again and then check your chain deflection also. I've got my chain deflection that I need. So now we're ready to take it off the stand. And also, you don't want it on the belly jack. You want it in a resting position, resting stance, as it would be on the ground. I am going to tighten this spring up just a little bit because I'm sure it's going to be a little soft for me, being a little bit bigger than a kid. Still have to put fuel in it, but we're going to take it up off of there, set her down on the ground, see if she's going to start and behave. It's missing chain guard. I'm not too worried about that, but let's get it on the ground, get it outside. She's a ripper. Think of that. That's fun for days for a kid. Heck, it's fun for me to see if it starts back up again. Got enough power to lift itself up. I'm actually surprised by how peppy it is for as tiny as it is. I know I probably look like a elephant riding a tricycle or a little mini bicycle, but it's fun. It is. Well, thanks for hanging out with me, getting this thing going. Everything seems to be working just fine. I have a tank of gas to run out, so I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later. I'm out of here.